and welcome to another episode of Shou Talks. So, your girl recently subscribed to HBO Max because they got the whole season of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Now, for those of you who don't know, I love Will Smith. I absolutely love Will Smith. If any of y'all know him, tell him to holla at your girl Shou. I just want to meet him. I just want to shake his hand. Like, I feel like, he had a couple bad movies. But other than that, Will Smith is freaking amazing. Like, anything about him is just dope to me. So, of course, since HBO Max has decided to air the entire season of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I, of course, started binge watching it. And I'm on season 1. But I came across episode 6, which is titled Mistaken Identity. And just a quick recap, it's the episode where Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv are going to Palm Springs with Mr. Firth, which is Uncle Phil's legal partner. And they let Carlton drive Mr. Firth's car to Palm Springs because they took the helicopter. So Carlton and Will, who of course hid in the car because he wanted to go, get pulled over and arrested for stealing the car. They also try to tie them in the string of car thefts that have been going on in that neighborhood. Now, the reason why I wanted to talk about this episode is because this episode aired October 15th, 1990. 30 years ago, y'all. And this is a situation that we are still dealing with today in 2020. Now, I'm going to go ahead and play a little quick clip of when Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv get to the police station, just so you can see how they were treated. And then I'm going to get back to, this conversation.
Hey, Viv! Dad! Who is in charge here?
I am.
Let those kids out.
These kids are car thieves.
And you have made a big mistake. Now, I don't know how you got that bogus confession out of them, but those two boys haven't stolen a thing from anyone. This has got to be the biggest amateur operation I've seen since Mayberry RFD.
Did you ask your wife to calm down?
Calm yourself, Barney Fife.
Vivian, please. Now, officers, I'm sure we can clear this whole matter up quite easily.
Could you please sit down? We're busy now.
Oh, honey, we're about to get very busy.
Sit down.
Hey! You don't talk to my wife like that.
Now, wait a minute, buddy. Who the hell do you think you're talking
Who
to?
the hell do you think you're talking to?
What's going on here?
Can I help you, sir?
I'm Henry Firth.
Good news, Mr. Firth. Your car is safe and sound, and we've got the perpetrators.
Those aren't the perpetrators. Those are my partner's son and nephew.
Partner?
Legal partner. I've got a few questions for you. When you got this alleged confession from these two young men, did they have a lawyer present? No, because I'm their lawyer. Did you notify their parents? No, because we're their parents. So, officer, don't tell us to wait, and don't tell us to sit down. Just open that damn cell and let those two boys out of there. I'm going to tie this place up with so much litigation that your grandchildren are going to need lawyers.
Y'all. Now, mind you, I saw this episode. Oh, maybe I didn't watch it when it first aired. Because if it was aired in 1990, I was 3. So most likely I did not watch it. But I've seen it before. But watching it this time around in my adult life, with everything I've seen, experienced, heard, and know, it hit differently. Now, I've seen these type of episodes before. Family Matters had it too when Eddie was arrested for no reason, driving while black. It's a concept that is not really spoken much about, but we know it exists. And for Uncle Phil, an attorney, to get to the police station and let these cops know, hey, you got the wrong ones. And they just treated them as if they were just some bum off the street, telling him, oh, tell your wife to calm down, have a seat, we're busy. You're not busy. First of all, there's nobody else in the holding station. You're not busy. but it was because it was two African Americans that came in to defend other African Americans that you arrested. They were not of importance. And it wasn't until Mr. Firth came into the police station to first and foremost confirm that his car was never stolen, but also to confirm the identity of Uncle Phil as his legal partner, that the police somewhat gave him the respect he deserved. But at that point, Uncle Phil lit him up. Now, I had to record that episode and keep quiet, but it was hard because the first time I rewatched it, when I tell you I got out my seat and started jumping for the Lord, because it makes sense. And it's something that, a lot of young men don't realize they should know. For starters, you had them make a confession. You never called their attorney. Come on now. Another one, they're underage, so they're minors. You never contacted their parents. Come on now. Like that's basic knowledge. To me, at least. But then again, I went to Suffolk University. I studied a little bit about law. So it may not be basic knowledge to minority minors. They don't know. They just know they have police officers pulling them over and arresting them, and they feel like they did something wrong. Now, what I found funny was towards the end of the episode when, they get back home and Carlton is telling Hillary, the police officers were just doing their job. Will's reaction. And I'm going to go ahead and play that for you guys and jump back into it.
Yo, Carl.
Yeah?
Those cops were just trying to do their jobs.
Well, don't get all bent out of shape.
Man, you ain't learned nothing this weekend, did you?
I most certainly did. Always bring a map.
What?
If we would have had a map, we wouldn't have had to drive 2 miles an hour trying to find a freeway entrance, and we wouldn't have been stopped.
Oh, okay. I get it now. We were stopped because we were driving too slow. We were breaking the slowness limit. Oh, okay. Well, you see, I never heard of that law before, but I did hear this other law. It's called the if you see a black guy driving anything but a burnt-out Pinto, you better stop him because he stole it law. Yeah, I heard about that one. Oh, but see, I thought it was the black guy law, when in actuality, it was the slowness limit law. Oh, thank you for sharing that with me, Carlton. Good night.
They were just doing their job.
Good night, Carlton.
What's your complaint here? We were detained for a few hours, Dad cleared things up, and we were released. The system works.
I hope you like that system, because you're going to be seeing a whole lot of it during your lifetime.
Not if I bring a map.
You just don't get it, do you? No map is going to save you. And neither is your glee club, or your fancy Bel-Air address, or who your daddy is. Because when you're driving in a nice car in a strange neighborhood, none of that matters. They only see one thing.
Well, maybe growing up where you did has made you a little touchy. But I think you've blown this whole thing way out of proportion. If you look at the facts.
Carlton? It's late. It's school day tomorrow, son.
Yeah, okay, Dad. It was awfully nice of Mr. Firth to help us out. I'll have to write him a thank you note.
It shouldn't have happened in the first place, son. Good night.
Dad, if you were a policeman and you saw a car driving 2 miles an hour, wouldn't you stop it?
I asked myself that question the first time I was stopped. Good night, son.
I would stop it.
Now, Carlton identifies the situation as the police just doing their job. Now, he's speaking from the perspective of someone who's never been pulled over before. Carlton has lived in Bel-Air, this rich white neighborhood, his entire life. So he's always been treated differently. Will grew up on the west side of Philadelphia. Born and raised on a playground is where he spent most of his days. Sorry, I had to do it. So he's come in contact with the law a few times, if not personally, but he's seen it. Because even in the episode, he knew exactly what to do when to do it, what the police was going to ask. You know, he was on it because he's experienced it before, or at least he grew up in a neighborhood where this was not foreign. And when he heard Carlton tell him the police officers were just doing their job, he felt the need to educate his cousin. No, that's not what happened. It was racial profiling. And it stuck to me because I, living in 2020, still have these type of conversations with friends. Or I still hear these type of conversations. Now, I am one to say, for starters, I hate the word allies. And it is a word that's becoming very big, especially in this, how things are going with the world. We are identifying white people as either racist or allies. I hate that. I hate that we are using the word ally to associate somebody who's not racist. Why can't they just not be racist? To me, using the word ally implicates that we are at war. And maybe it's my chipper personality that I don't like using it. I don't like thinking that we're at war. I don't like thinking, or maybe it's just my fear of reality. I don't like thinking that we're about to be in a position where it's whites versus blacks. I feel like this is the hand that we've been dealt. And I have no problem saying that I've been very, very blind. And I do, before I end this podcast, I do want to discuss this concept of the Black curse. And I don't think a lot of people realize that some of our overreaching or over qualifying doesn't necessarily put us on an even playing ground. And I thought of Carlton when I saw that episode and I saw Carlton's justification. That was the first thing that came to mind. Now, for those of you who don't know what the Black curse is, it's pretty much Black people always trying to one up our white counterparts, and it's because of our experiences. It's because of how we were raised. I know with me, my own personal experience, I was always raised to do better than everybody else around me. Now, like I said before, I went to a predominantly black college, a predominantly black elementary school. All my teachers were white. I went to a predominantly white high school. Once again, all my teachers were white. And actually, I don't think I had my first black professor until college. But, St. Matthew's, which was my elementary school, I went to private school. It was predominantly black students. So it was okay for me to be myself. My Haitian parents just made sure, hey, you don't bring nothing lower than a B. My parents didn't even want to see a C on my report card. But getting to high school, things were different. We had, of course, the black table where it was probably like at most 12 girls. Now, mind you, my school probably had a couple hundred people. I think we had about 500 students, I think. But out of the 500, I want to say maybe 3% were black. Maybe less. But my parents saw it as, you're going to this school and you are going to succeed. Because if you succeed at this school, the world will see you different. You survived with whites. You got this. But that's not how the world is. I remember a former boss of mine having this conversation with him, and he was actually the one who told me about the term, the Black curse, where, we dress to the T. We use proper English. If I'm going on an interview, I am in a suit. I've seen people come in interviews with casual blouses and capris and still get the job. What? I could never. I have to be better. I've been programmed to think that if I'm better, then that makes me equal. That doesn't make me higher. It makes me equal. If I get to work at 7:30 where I'm scheduled for 9 o'clock, that gives me enough time to level the playing field. If I stay until 8, 9 o'clock at night when I'm supposed to be off at 5, that allows me to get a little extra work done so that tomorrow I can be on the equal playing field. That's not how it works. Something that Will says in his dialogue with Carlton is that the fact that your father is an attorney and your preppy school education or your glee club is never going to supersede the fact that you are black. He didn't say those exact words, but he pretty much tells Carlton that it doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter what you've done. If you get pulled over, the first thing the police sees is the color of your skin. And that will determine how they treat you. Now, I do want to make a disclaimer. I do not believe that all police officers are bad. I do believe that we have bad police officers. But I do not believe that all police are bad. There are some good cops out there. I've come in contact with them. I mean, in elementary school, we had Officer Friendly that came by every Friday. Came and taught us about the DARE program. Now, I don't really know what Officer Friendly doing with his life now, but he didn't do anything to hurt us then. There are police officers that are out here to genuinely serve and protect. Now, what I feel, and I don't know if it's possible, but what I feel needs to be done is that there needs to be better background checks on who we are allowing to become police officers. Because let's face it, there will always be crime. We need the police. We need some type of order in our world to avoid increasing crime. But if you allow criminals to delegate that order, then what are we really resolving? Where's the justice? How are we setting an example? If we go back and we look at as far as, the 80s, the 70s, like I just watched Queen and Slim, and first of all, that's a whole different episode. That trash. I'm sorry. Like the music was great. They had some scenes that were good, but the movie was trash, y'all. It was trash. I'm sorry. And I really, really love that actor. I can't remember his name, but he is amazing. But the movie was trash. Trash. But it just shows the difference. Like, I don't know, guys. I look back on old TV because there ain't really that much great TV to watch nowadays. But I look back and see certain types of episodes. For instance, this episode with Fresh Prince. And the fact that it's something that we're still dealing with now means that there hasn't really been much growth in the past 30 years. We done got this man up in office. He done got all the races out and about. Oh, they out here showing their true colors. And I think something that came to mind the other day where, a lot of white people do not know how to deal with racism. A lot of non-racists don't know how to deal with racism. And I feel like a lot of black people don't know how to deal with it either, because for so long we've been taught to be quiet and take it. We've been taught that if you argue back, if you fight back, you'll be killed. Just go on and listen to whatever this white authority person has said to you and do it so that you can live and go home and go about your business. But in 2020, we are now living in a world where Black people are standing up and saying, no, this is wrong, and I will no longer stand for it. And it's shocking. It's shocking to white people who are racist. It's shocking to white people who are not racist. It's shocking to Black people who still live in a world where it's shut up and do what you're told. We don't necessarily know how to move. You know, we spent months protesting with George Floyd. And to be honest, I'm not even sure if they arrested all of the police officers. Within that same week of George Floyd, there were 2 other killings, Ahmad and Breona Taylor. Ahmad was killed while going for a run. He was going for a run, and his life was taken because he's Black. Breona Taylor, who is still, no arrests have been made, to my knowledge. She was sleeping. They came into her apartment. Mistaken identity. They came into her apartment and they killed her. And yet, no arrests have been made. With George Floyd, police officer kneeled on his neck till he couldn't breathe, while 3 other police officers controlled the crowd. This man died. Lives are being taken. And then, of course, when all of this happens, you have people, because now we live in a world of social media and we live in the world where everything is recorded. You have videos popping up of white people interacting with police. And they get to live. I saw a video where this woman who was mentally ill screaming to the top of her lungs and cussing these cops out. Stood in front of their car, wouldn't move, hitting the car, cussing. There was another with this white man who was literally fighting police officers. No one reached for their gun. No one nailed on his neck. No one fought back. He actually got into the police car and drove off. What upsets me is when these videos surface and there's still confusion about why people of color are upset. And it's because we look at these videos and we see people like George Floyd. We see people like Trayvon Martin. We see people like, it's just a list of people who have had lesser issues or lesser run-ins with the police officers. And their lives were taken from it because of the color of their skin. Not because of the crime. You have Eric Garner. I believe his situation was he paid with a fake $20 bill. Killed. Whereas you have this young white man who was fighting police officers because he was speeding or whatever the situation was. Fighting them. No one pulled out a gun. We've lived in a world so far where minorities have been programmed to fear authority. We don't trust authority. What have authorities done for the benefit of people of color? And that's why we are where we are now. Trust me, this is a process it's not fun for anybody. I have 3 nieces, a 4th on the way. I have an 18-year-old niece who is getting ready for college. And my fear is her ignorance into the real world. You know, it's scary because I know I can't be there to protect her if she was to ever come into any of these situations. Now, I'm not a parent. So if I'm living in fear from the perspective of an aunt, how are parents feeling? And these are all the situations we think about when we see situations like this, when we hear about situations like this. I don't have a resolution. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how to make things better. But I know this can't be what the rest of our lives are supposed to look like. This can't be what the rest of our lives are supposed to feel like. There has to be a better way. I would love to have this conversation with a guest. So if this hits you, holla at me. Let's talk about it. But in the meantime, in between time, I thank y'all for rocking out with me. I'm going to go ahead and end this episode on that note. I'm starting to get a little emotional. I got to go shake that out real quick. So I'm going to holla at y'all next Wednesday with a new episode, new topic. And in the meantime, in between time, check me out on all my social media platforms. I have them listed in my info section. Leave me a comment about how you felt about this week's conversation topic. And like I said, if you want to be a guest, holla at me. We can make this work. Thank you again for rocking out with Shou Talks. And I'm out.